You know me as Lady Gaga, the woman who wore a dress made of meat, the one who stomped across the Super Bowl halftime stage like it was my living room, the queen of turning heads and breaking norms. But before all that, I was just Stefani Germanotta, a girl with too much eyeliner, too many dreams, and one very unglamorous accessory, a diner apron. My stage wasn't Madison Square Garden. It was a crowded Manhattan diner with sticky floors and coffee pots older than me. The soundtrack wasn't thundering applause. It was the sizzle of bacon, the clang of plates, and the occasional, "Hey miss, more ketchup!" If you've ever wanted a crash course in humility, trust me, just work the breakfast shift. Every morning I tied my apron like it was a superhero cape. Except my superpowers weren't laser beams or flying. They were refilling coffee without spilling and smiling at customers who thought snapping their fingers was an appropriate way to get my attention. Spoiler, it's not. I wasn't exactly a 5-star server. In fact, I'm pretty sure I caused more caffeine-related disasters than I prevented. There was one morning when I dropped an entire tray of orange juice on a businessman's laptop. His face said lawsuit, but my face said, oops. Also, maybe you needed a break from spreadsheets. The diner had its regulars, each one a character in my personal sitcom. There was Mr. Grumpy Eggs, who ordered the same omelet every day and complained every single time. Then there was Miss Red Lipstick, who treated brunch like a runway show. And my personal favorite, guy who flirted badly, who once tipped me $1 with his phone number on it. Honey, if you think that works, you deserve decaf. But the diner wasn't just chaos and bad flirting. It was also where I secretly practiced my craft. You see, while I was taking orders, my brain was writing songs. The rhythm of forks clinking was a drum beat, the hiss of the coffee machine was a synth note, and the chatter of customers? Pure background vocals. Sometimes I couldn't resist singing as I delivered food. Imagine this. You order scrambled eggs, and I bring them with a dramatic chorus. Customers were divided, half smiled, half looked like they'd just been cursed. One guy even asked if there was karaoke night happening. No sir, that was just me, serving breakfast with a side of Broadway. The tips? Let's just say they weren't funding a world tour anytime soon. My pockets jingled with quarters, dimes, and the occasional crumpled dollar. It was less fabulous wealth and more arcade token collection. But every coin felt like a tiny vote of confidence, even if it was tossed at me with a grumble. There was this cook, Frankie, who became my unofficial life coach. He shouted a lot, but in between throwing bacon on the grill, he'd tell me, "Kid, you've got too much fire for this place. Go burn down a stage instead." I don't know if he meant that literally, but I took it as gospel. Of course, the other waitresses were my allies too. Marlene, the queen of diner sass, once told me, "Honey, you don't belong here. You belong on a stage, dripping in glitter." She said this while chain smoking outside on break, wearing orthopedic shoes. Honestly, it was the pep talk I didn't know I needed. The truth is, I was exhausted most of the time. My shifts started early, ended late, and left me smelling like pancakes 24/7. But I had this wild little spark inside me whispering, "Stefani, this isn't forever. One day, they'll scream your name instead of snapping their fingers for more syrup." Looking back, those messy, greasy diner days were more than just a job. They were my training ground. Balancing trays taught me balance on stage. Dealing with rude customers taught me how to face critics. And singing between orders taught me that no matter the stage, even if it was sticky with spilled soda, I was meant to perform. So yes, before I was Lady Gaga, I was just a clumsy, glitter-filled waitress, trying not to spill soup on people's laps. And maybe, just maybe, every coffee stain was a stepping stone to the spotlight. The truth about being a waitress? It's a performance. Every smile, of course I'll get that right away. All of it was acting. Some customers thought I was naturally bubbly, but no, darling. I was auditioning every single shift. And believe me, the audience was tough. Let's talk about tips. If tips were applause, then I was playing to half-empty rooms most of the time. Some days I'd walk home jingling with coins like a human piggy bank. Others, I'd find a sad little dollar bill folded into a triangle like some kind of origami insult. But every coin mattered. I turned nickels into bus fare, quarters into bagels, and crumpled bills into cheap sheet music. Each tiny tip was like a stepping stone. Small, sure, but stacked together, they were building a path out of the diner and toward the stage. The diner staff was my cast of characters. Frankie the cook was a master of tough love. He'd yell, "Pick up table 6," while secretly sliding me fries when I looked like I might collapse. Marlene, the veteran waitress, was like the fairy godmother of sarcasm. "Honey," she told me once, "don't waste your sparkle here. Save it for when people actually buy tickets." And me? I was the dreamer scribbling in notebooks whenever I could. I carried one in my apron pocket at all times. Orders went on the front, lyrics on the back. More than once, I confused the two. A customer once got a bill that said 2 eggs, bacon, eternal heartbreak. They didn't tip, but honestly, they should have. That's poetry. I often locked myself in the diner bathroom just to write. Picture me squeezed into a stall, balancing a pen and notebook while someone knocked on the door yelling, "Can you hurry up?" Art doesn't wait, people. If inspiration hits between coffee refills, you write. Some nights, after closing, I'd sit in the empty diner with just the hum of refrigerators for company. I'd lean against the counter, scribbling melodies while the smell of French fries clung to my hair. Nobody knew it, but the diner wasn't just where I worked. It was where I rehearsed. And oh, the customers. They were a mixed bag. Some were sweet, tipping generously and calling me darling. Others snapped their fingers, demanded faster service, or rolled their eyes at my singing. One man once asked me to tone it down. Excuse me, sir, but toning it down is not in my DNA. Still, once in a while, someone noticed. A stranger might say, "You've got a great voice, you know." They'd drop it casually between bites of pancakes and move on. But to me, those tiny moments felt like sparks. Like the universe was whispering, "Keep going." The shifts were exhausting. I'd stumble home late at night with sore feet, grease in my hair, and coffee stains on my apron. But then, I'd collapse onto my piano. I didn't care if my neighbors hated me. I'd sing until my voice cracked, turning all that diner frustration into fuel. Looking back, the diner wasn't just a job. It was my training ground. Balancing trays prepared me for balancing fame. Handling rude customers prepared me for critics. And sneaking lyrics onto napkins? That was the seed of the songs that would later take me to the top. So, while the world saw just another tired waitress, I knew better. Beneath the apron, behind the forced smile, I was secretly transforming. Every spilled drink, every bad tip, every midnight notebook scribble, they weren't failures. They were rehearsals for the show of my life. By day, I carried trays of pancakes. By night, I carried my entire soul onto tiny, dimly lit stages. After my diner shifts, I'd head straight to open mics across New York, still smelling faintly of French fries. Nothing says star quality like glittery eyeliner paired with the aroma of bacon grease. These open mics were far from glamorous. The floor was sticky. The mic crackled like it had been dropped one too many times, and the crowd was usually more interested in cheap beer than in me pouring my heart out at a piano. But I didn't care. To me, those 3 drunk guys at the bar were Madison Square Garden. Sometimes I even showed up in my waitress shoes. You know, the ugly black flats that squeaked like rubber ducks? Not exactly the footwear of a future pop queen, but I thought, if I can make magic in these, I can make magic anywhere. My squeaky shoes became my secret good luck charm. Money was still tight. I'd pay subway fares with the same quarters I got from tips earlier that day. I'd ride the train half asleep, clutching my notebook full of half-written songs, looking like just another tired service worker. Nobody on that train knew I was plotting global domination. The exhaustion was real. Some nights I questioned everything. Was I wasting my time? Was I just a waitress with silly dreams? But then, I'd hit a chord on the piano, open my mouth, and remind myself, this is who I am. Even if only 5 people were listening, it was still worth it. One night, a man actually walked up to me after a set and said, "You've got something." Just 3 words. But I swear those 3 words carried me through weeks of spilled coffee and cranky customers. That's the thing about chasing dreams. You don't need everyone to believe in you. Sometimes, just one person is enough. Looking back, I realized those nights were the real training. Balancing trays by day taught me balance on stage. Smiling through rude customers taught me resilience. And standing on those tiny bar stages taught me how to give everything, even if no one was clapping. So yes, I was exhausted, broke, and constantly smelling like diner grease, but I was also unstoppable. Because when you're hungry, not just for food, but for a dream, you find a way. And I wasn't hungry for pancakes anymore. I was hungry for the spotlight. If you think performing for thousands of screaming fans is intense, try surviving a Saturday brunch shift in New York City. Forget the Super Bowl halftime show. Nothing compares to 20 tables of cranky, hungover customers demanding eggs Benedict like it's oxygen. I learned quickly that brunch wasn't just about food, it was about drama. People acted like I held the key to their happiness in a coffee pot. One wrong order, and suddenly I was the villain in their soap opera. Honestly, the diner was Broadway with worse lighting. There was one unforgettable day when I spilled coffee on a Wall Street guy's expensive suit. He stared at me like I had ended his career. Inside, I thought, darling, one day I'll wear a dress made out of meat, and nobody will remember your pinstripes. Not all customers were disasters, though. Some were kind, some even tipped generously. And once, a woman leaned over her plate of pancakes and told me, "You've got a voice. Don't waste it here." She probably doesn't remember saying it, but I remember. It felt like a spotlight flickering on for the first time. The truth is, the diner was a stage. Every tray I carried was a prop. Every order I repeated was a line. Every forced smile was a costume. And every rude snap of fingers, a bad review. I learned to handle critics before I even had any fans. Looking back, those brunch shifts toughened me up. They taught me patience, resilience, and timing. If you can survive a diner full of caffeine-deprived New Yorkers, you can survive anything, including the music industry. Eventually, the day came when I realized I couldn't keep balancing trays forever. I loved my diner family, but my heart was somewhere else. On a stage, behind a piano, dripping in sequins, not in pancake syrup. So I folded up my apron, stuffed it in a drawer, and told myself, next time I wear a uniform, it'll be one I designed myself. My first real gig after the diner wasn't Madison Square Garden. It was a tiny club with bad lighting and a microphone that looked like it had survived a war. But people actually came to see me. Not the eggs, not the coffee, just me. For the first time, my music wasn't background noise. It was the main course. When they clapped, I almost cried. You have to understand, after years of being snapped at by customers for not bringing ketchup fast enough, hearing applause felt like a miracle. It was proof that all those scribbles and notebooks, all those late nights at the piano, were not just dreams. They were seeds finally sprouting. Do I regret those waitress years? Not even a little. They gave me grit. They gave me patience. And most importantly, they gave me balance. I carried trays stacked with plates for years. Later, I carried costumes stacked with rhinestones and wigs the size of small planets. Honestly, same skill set. Fans often ask me, how did you become Lady Gaga? And I always laugh because the truth is, before I served hits, I served tables. Before I had fans, I had customers who didn't always leave tips. And before I was Mother Monster, I was just Stefani, the girl with tired feet and glitter in her pocket. Sometimes I wonder what those old customers would think now. The guy whose suit I ruined with coffee, the woman who told me I had a voice, the man who left his phone number on a $1 tip. I hope they see me on stage and think, wow, she made it. And also, wow, I should have tipped more. So here's what I learned. Greatness can start anywhere. Even in a greasy diner with broken booths and burnt toast. If you're stuck in a job that feels small, don't despair. Your apron might just be your first costume. Your tray might just be your first stage. And your worst customer? Well, they're just practice for your future critics. I went from spilling coffee to spilling my heart into music. From waiting tables to being waited on backstage. From quarters in my pocket to Grammys on my shelf. And if I can do it, darling, so can you. Just remember, never stop dreaming, never stop singing, and always add glitter.